going for 2, or is this going to be the end?
Well, I
mean, like, the conversation's not done.
I suppose
That just means I've got to grit my teeth and go through all that again. Or, better yet, maybe I go the other way. I mean, I think I know that the other way is the way we've already been. So maybe we'll just waste our time. But then what else are we doing? We're wasting your time right now. We gotta go see the flamboyant guy and his android racing team. They're not going to the sewers anymore. What? I did it last time. Am I no longer allowed? So does that mean I did go this way? Oh, okay, there it is. I've forgotten how to navigate this place. And I'm almost certain this won't lead us to anywhere I need to be, but who cares? I don't want to go back to that place. Oh, this door was open last time. Yeah, we do have too much of that these days. I'm trying to think of other examples, because I know there are some. I'm just like, I'm of the opinion you shouldn't be punished for a thing that isn't a crime. And by crime, I mean a violation of someone's rights. Because nothing that isn't a violation of someone's rights should be treated as a crime. And that's the other thing, is it's just like we have way too many laws that aren't about people's rights. I don't think that's the way I want to go. I think I want to go here.
Okay, what is with all the Raphael turtles all over the place?
They're just... Whoa, okay, that was nice and easy. Is there something on this mountain I can go and see? Or is this it? Ain't nothing on the mountain, it seems like. Because all I think that's in here is the weird robot guy with the computer or someone. Oh, yeah. Although no one's in here now. There used to be a guy in here. Yeah, here he is. Hello. Yeah, so the mountain is a place I can't go yet. And I can't go through here. Alright, yeah, so I wasted the time. Sorry. I was clinging to a hope that I wouldn't have to do all that again. So...
I think what it comes down to, really, is that men
really, the reason why men have a fascination with mobs is because we long for a functioning society. And when we don't
think that when we get together and everybody else gets out the
Why?
way...
Why are you following me?
Raphael turtles!
What do you have to do with me? You dumb sacks of... I'm very annoyed by that. So, yeah. A mob is just a microcosm of a functional society, and men's attraction to it goes up in proportion to the lack of functional society around them. I think I found not only an answer to this question, but a possible prescription for the future.
It's also a possible segue into our next
Join your
topic,
local mob.
which is that if you notice, a mob is made up almost exclusively of men. There must be examples, women, but they were not.
Some could describe the suffragettes as a mob.
I suppose.
I mean, they certainly were violent.
Is that what dictates a mob now?
I don't think it has to, but it does seem to be a common theme.
I don't know that the suffragettes were organized.
They were attempting to be organized.
Attempted organized crime.
Well, because that's the other, I mean, because of the three things I mentioned.
Quasi-organized crime.
Of the three things I mentioned, obviously the oddball out is Saints Row. Because Black Mass is a historical crime film. El Camino is a fictional but still fairly grounded crime film. And Saints Row is literally just wacky hijinks. But there's still an element of like...
Remind me what Saints Row is. I feel like I've seen that one.
We played bits of it. It's basically like GTA, but more fun.
Oh, right.
go around back and press the switch. Well, I don't think I can press the switch from this area. Darn you! Am I seriously not able to go back this way? Because the switch is over there, but I can't get there from here. Unless there's another way. But yeah, oh, I can get that. I think I have to go this way, but this involves more stupid truffles. Gotta fight the demon macarons. There, okay, here's how it goes.
Well,
maybe that might, of all of them, might be the most sort of power fantasy-esque, where it's like, wouldn't it be fun if you could just do literally anything you wanted ever? And I guess it's not much more than that. But I guess the other thing that I thought was odd is that in Black Mass, one of the quote rackets of the mob was literally they had vending machines. I'm like, that's just a normal business. Why? I bet the mob has them, but I don't know why. Because I guess surely if you were running a mob, you probably would want a reasonable mix of. You'd have to have some healthy, normal businesses that you could use as. It's like, no, of course we don't participate in crimes. We just have vending machines. Although it did also occur to me, it's like, well, if you did own a bunch of vending machines, that would be a bunch of convenient drop points. So I guess it has some convenience in that way.
I'm not gonna lie, that thought occurred to me.
I mean, that's why the mob is often in garbage. Because it's an easy way to move stuff around.
When I was working in fiber, I actually thought that very same thing, because fiber now is got boxes and things like that everywhere, and if you know how to open those things, it's like, oh yeah, just go to this particular delivery drop and pick it up, and then we're ready to go.
I mean, they're fairly secure too.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You can't get into it without the key.
I was like, this is a fascinating option.
I do know how to ride now, pal. Alright, I gotta do this again. So how about let's start buying some vending machines. I actually did think about that before, because it's one of those kinds of businesses you don't actually have to do that much with. It's like basically you just buy it, find a place to put it, and then check on it repeatedly. I mean, it could eventually become a sort of more involved business if you had a bunch of them, but I don't know. So basically what I'm describing is an entrepreneurial friend group. You just need some entrepreneurial friends with whom you can start a small business. I think you got that right before the end.
The difference is the way that you're describing it is
a communal
mob versus a top-down, hey, there's actually some sort of boss.
Well, but even in a community, there'd be maybe not a strict structure, but there'd be people who were more listened to than others.
Well, maybe, but I think you would have to codify that to a degree.
I guess for a mob to function. Could you not have an equal split kind of mob where it's just like you're in charge of this and I'm in charge of that?
I'm sure you could.
And then I guess you just have to vote on stuff, on decisions that don't fall within someone's purview. Basically what I'm asking is, how would we start our own legal mob? What could we do? Oh, I think it's going to give that to him, even though I think I had it. Oh, maybe not. I think they gave it to me. Good. So, vending machines, I guess. What else?
Well, I've talked about many
payday loans.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about various, like, just things that you could do on a passive level. It's like, I don't have to put a lot of work into this, but this actually could be quite lucrative.
Well, because basically, this probably should have been obvious. Let's take a bunch of classic mob activities and then just try to legalize them somehow. Because essentially, racketeering, you just make that a security business, which would make perfect sense.
Yeah, but racketeering doesn't just strictly have to do with that. Like, if you're involved in any sort of business dealings that are I have to look it up because I've looked it up at one point, and it's like the actual legal definition is really thin. Like
Well, it's one of those I think they only codified as a means of targeting the mob. Not unlike...
dishonest and fraudulent. Okay, so racketeering is a set of illegal activities aimed at commercial profit that may be disguised as legitimate business deals. It's like, well, how do you... Okay, so it's just arbitrarily they get to decide what that looks like.
Well, yeah, that doesn't really give you much to go off of. Read it.
It's
What was
multiple
that?
people... hang on. So I'll read the code, what is it called? The subset of definition, and then I'll go back to the beginning. So racketeering is defined by a coordinated effort by multiple people to repeatedly earn a profit. Which I'm like, okay.
that can't be it.
Yes, typically by fraud, extortion, illegal.
Okay.
Illegal.
Typically, though, not exclusively.
Right. Or other illegal means. But racketeering, by definition, is just coordinated effort by multiple people to repeatedly earn profit. It's like, well,
That's
okay.
just called business.
I know. That's what I thought.
That's absurd.
But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
It's literally all you'd have to remove from that is the word typically. You just say a group of people attempting to earn profit by extortion, coercion, or whatever the other things were. That would make a sensible definition. Loose, I guess, legally, because what constitutes coercion or other
racketeering is a set of illegal activities aimed at commercial profit that may be disguised. So, like, for instance, I looked into flipping houses, but doing it on the cheap, where it's like you're using potentially material that's like, okay, it may not last forever, but it's at least flipped and you sell the house. That's technically racketeering. I'm like, that's dumb.
Well, but see, the question would be,
are you
violating code?
Correct, exactly.
Because it's like, okay, if you're violating code in order to do it, then yes, I guess that's correct.
Yes.
But again, that's one of those things where we already have the legal term for that. That would be violating code.
Well, but here's the thing, though. So in what is it called? The Sopranos. One of the kind of projects that they do, I was sitting there going, this is a completely legal way of doing this. Obviously, they had other business dealings that weren't legal. However, they would get specialized like loan privileges from the government for nonprofit, and basically they had a guy they were working with that was a nonprofit guy that would get these loans, buy these houses, and then the mob would work with him to flip the houses, and then they would basically split some of the earnings with the...
That would technically be a form of fraud on
it's to some degree, because
you're saying it'd be essentially like using a research grant for non-research purposes. It's like technically the government gave it to you, but they did give it to you with this intent, and if you don't use it for that intent, that is still technically breaching the terms. It's like technically if you got a house loan and then didn't buy a house with it and you just spent it on whatever, it's like that's still technically fraudulent.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. It was a thin argument even in the show. Like,
I think it's an argument. I think the definition of racketeering, I didn't realize it was that stupid.
It's very stupid. Like, here's examples of racketeering. Among the most common examples are, obviously, prostitution. That's the number one thing. That makes sense. Prostitution
okay, but see, that's already illegal.
Yeah, is a form of racketeering.
See, that's what doesn't make sense to me, is it's like, why you've just created an umbrella term for things that were already crimes.
Though. This one bothered me a lot.
What do they just call it? The protection racket, I guess, is what we're specifically talking about?
No,
with
this one
defense?
this one really bothered me a lot.
I'm saying what we were describing earlier was a protection racket specifically, I guess, not just racketeering in general.
It's not.
Or does that have a different name?
It's a different name, probably. But here's the one that really bothered me. Racketeering could also be described as illegally operating lottery. I'm like, that's dumb.
That's essentially just another one of the it's a tax thing.
But that's stupid.
Where you're just going, you have to be registered with the government because the government's going to take a piece of the stuff.
If I'm a bookie on the side...
Well, that's why gambling is often illegal, is because it's usually done that way.
But that's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, that's like moonshine, where the only reason it's illegal is because the government can't tax it, is why. That's literally it.
That's the kind of illegal crime I'd be like, I'm okay with that being illegal, and I don't care that I'm doing it. Like, there's no morality to that. At that point, the government is the one that's in the moral gray. It's absurd. Because it's like, I have people that
does raise a question. What actually is... what does a bookie do?
they take the bets, and they're essentially like brokers. Like they take all the bets and they pool it, and then they say, okay, they pay out based on. So they have an actual probably backlog of maybe $100,000 or something like that they have, almost like on a house level, if you want to describe it as like a.
Theoretically, I mean, barring the tax part of it, which is stupid, we can agree. Generally speaking, like the Peaky Blinders example is they were organizing the bets, but they were also interfering to make themselves money.
Well, sure.
So if you just didn't do that, you would just be a non-registered gambling organization. Illegal. Yeah, but it's illegal in the same way that moonshine's illegal. It's just like it's illegal literally for tax reasons only.
This is why Tommy did that whole first and second season. This is why his whole point was now we actually are a legitimate legal betting operation with the whole.
Well, I mean, they still interfered with things, but
well, they did. But I'm saying like they had an actual.
Oh, I forgot.
License to be bookies at that point, and at that point, then the business was no longer illegal; it was legitimate. And
well, except for the interfering with.
Well, okay, I'm saying on paper. I was saying like.
Well, sure, on paper.
So, but that bothers me. I'm like illegally operating a lottery.
Well, that's why loan sharking's illegal too. It's the same.
But I think that's stupid too.
Well, loan sharking tends to go hand in hand with leg breaking. It theoretically didn't have to.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. That extortion, some people would argue it also goes hand in hand with extortion, but I'm like, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, like loan sharking where you are
So what's our legal or at least quasi-legal, what's our moral crime gang going to be about? Yes, we will loan you money, and no, we won't break your legs, but
there will be some arm twisting.
But we might come around and just pick up furniture every now and again. Just be like, you're late again. We're taking the couch this week. Guy's eventually going to be living in a bare house. Start deconstructing the house. We're taking the drywall.
See, no, this is stupid. Private loan sharking is purely defined as private loans that where borrowers were charged exorbitant amounts of rates, such as 10% plus per week.
10%? That's exorbitant.
But I'm saying per week.
Oh, okay. But listen, I was about to say, the government's got some questions to answer now.
No, but listen, though. What's crazy about that is they signed up for it. Again, this is somebody that is saying, I have participated in this contract, and contractually, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, the argument would be that it's predatory, that you're... Because the only people who would willingly do that are desperate people who could never repay it back anyways. So, I mean, there's an argument to be made.
Legally,
but then again, I'm also not... I mean, again, I don't know that laws should be... Laws should defend people from other people, not from themselves.
I mean,
you could argue, well, it's defending you from predatory loan sharks. It's like, well, yeah, the guy's not going to give you money forcibly.
Well, right.
Here's $1,000. Now you owe it back to me next week.
Okay, here you go.
With interest. No, you can't pay it ahead of time.
But I'm saying, what is the word I'm looking for? Like bail bonds, 100% loan sharking. That's all it is.
No, bail bonds.
They're paying you your bail, and then you pay it back. You know, they're loaning you your bail, and then you pay it back.
I don't think that's how bail bonds work. 100%. No, because what's a bond?
It's
a bond is a.
You're bonded, as in like a bonded title, where you're having to buy it out, and that is what it is. I'm fairly confident.
Well, because a bond is just a form of. I mean, it's basically a fancy form of loan, essentially. We didn't do so well. Yeah, but the slut heals.
Bail bondsman, also known as a bail bond agent or bond dealer, is a person, agency, or corporation that acts as a surety for the defendant's court appearance by pledging the money or property as bail. So again, yeah, they loan you the money, essentially. In exchange for their services, they typically charge a non-refundable fee of 10% up front.
Not per week, though.
But, okay, again, it's just a legalized way of... Okay, here, in Texas, because Texas don't mess around. Let's find out in Texas, The Texas Department of Insurance regulates the licensed bail bonds companies. To become a bail bondsman in Texas, a person must be at least 18 years, only 18 years old, and complete at least 8 hours of in-person classes approved by the state bar. So literally, once you do that, you can be a bail bondsman. That's fascinating. We should do that.
Well, I didn't know. I never actually knew how it worked. I assumed it was something you had to do ahead of time almost.
Okay, so
like it was if you thought you might potentially be arrested, you had to like. Because I was thinking of it similarly to like a bonded title, where it's like you have to do it ahead of time. You have it's basically the bond is something you have to pay for up front.
Okay, this is the actual 35 things that would be classified as racketeering under the RICO Act.
Wait, what?
Yes.
How does the RICO Act get involved in this?
That RICO is specifically for organized crime.
Well, yeah, but I thought all that it had to do was I didn't have to fight those guys. I thought all the RICO was just saying if a group of people have pooled their finances to commit crimes, then they're all guilty.
Well, yeah, it tied them together, yes.
But I didn't realize that oh, you son of a gun! The save point was in the other door. That's absurd. So last time I chose the wrong door first and I didn't get to save. Here's a problem I'm facing. I have to pee again. I've had a bunch of Mountain Dew. So while I'm in the save screen, you tell people what racketeering is while I go and pee.
I'm still flabbergasted at the fact that...
Well, I didn't know that it was so loose, but then again, the Antitrust Act is incredibly loose and unspecific. A lot of the...
What is the Antitrust Act?
That was basically the monopoly laws. In order for a company to be considered a trust or a monopoly is so loose that it's absurd. You should read...
ban businesses from colluding or merging to form a monopoly. See, who freaking cares if they decide to do so?
Well, the argument in that, there's not much of an argument. You should read Capitalism by Ayn Rand because it goes through all of this very well, but I'm peeing.
Freaking let him. Okay, well, this is where I don't know. People take issue with, and you may have thoughts on this, but people take issue with people like Rockefeller and who was the steel tycoon? I can't remember him. Anyway, but the early, I would argue, business capitalists who were very aggressive in colluding and doing whatever else. But again, who cares? They're making money with their money and putting up their own money. I don't understand, and it just sounds like sore losers as far as the working class man going, we can't have that because it's such a separation or frustration, which is why, again, that classic line from Peaky Blinders where he says, I'm not abandoning my class or somehow, defaulting on my class. I'm just a great example of what a basic working class man can achieve. And again, it's why not you actually stepping up to the plate and doing that. I just don't quite understand that.
Well, is racketeering again?
Well, no, I haven't gone through that specific. I was just saying, especially with the monopoly thing, it just smacks of like a bunch of middle class
antitrust legislation's absolute BS.
Saying like, we don't like that. It's like, well, who freaking cares? It's their money.
Yeah, antitrust is dumb, but I've already done this. Okay, so I can leave this now. So essentially, it sounds like basically it's just the only real crime is operating a specific kind of business without the proper regulation. Is essentially what it is.
Okay.
Because giving loans is not illegal. Giving loans without the government's oversight is illegal.
Here's all the things that are technically related to racketeering. Money laundering, that makes sense to me. I'm like, I still see it as
I didn't realize that was... How could a group of people launder money?
Because you move it through the various corporations. That's exactly what money laundering is.
Okay.
It's just...
But you can't offer a money laundering business.
You can. You take dirty money, you move it through your multiple corporations, and now it's clean.
But that wouldn't be a business. That would be just multiple. It's like you wouldn't have a business that falsifies books. You would just falsify your books.
Well, no, you could absolutely say, I will falsify your books for your business, and
that
it's called a, oh, darn it. I was watching Suits the other day, and they actually talked about this. It's not a shell corporation. It's basically the equivalent of it's like where they shelf it.
Okay.
Like it's a legal corporation that they shelf for like 10 years, and then they'll pull it out and give it to somebody who needs a shell corporation. And because it's not new, and it's actually had some legal paperwork, it's no longer an illegal thing because it's just it's thinly legal. And I'm like, well, okay.
I didn't realize that shell corporations were illegal.
Yes, they are. Watching Suits has been a fascinating thing too. We should watch
Okay, is literally nothing in here but a save point.
Gambling, obviously, which I find.
Well, but again, that's only because the government can't take a piece.
Yeah, exactly. Drug trafficking.
Well, okay, but see, that's already a crime.
Yeah. Extortion.
What actually is that again?
It's basically.
Because legally speaking, given the definitions they've already given, I'm not sure what it would qualify as legally.
Twisting in order to get somebody to pay you.
Well, wouldn't that be basically blackmail? Or I guess are there other means of doing it? Physical threats, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I think if our legal system was more stoic, you'd have to be like, well, I don't care if you had a gun to your head, sir. You did agree.
That's what I'm saying.
You chose to do this instead of get shot. Are you reneging on that deal?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because the alternative's still on the table. That would be hilarious, actually. Let's do that. We'll be the stoic gang, sitting in court being like, Your Honor, with all due respect, the man has free will, doesn't he? I may have threatened his wife and children, but he chose his wife and children over whatever the money I was claiming to get from him. He could have kept the money and lost the wife and children.
And the only reason that I had any sort of dirt on him in order to leverage him with is because of his own wrongdoings.
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Bribery, which I'm like, see, that one is dumb too. If I go, hey, I'll pay you this amount of money if you can help me do this, I should be able to do that.
Well, no, the argument would be, in essence, if anything, the issue of, there's further down. Okay, that makes sense. The issue with bribery is not so much the paying of one, it's the taking of one, because generally the person who takes it is the one more morally reprehensible, in my opinion. A politician who takes a bribe is failing to uphold their duty as a public servant.
But see, that's public office.
Well, exactly.
But bribery across the board is racketeering.
Well, but you couldn't bribe...
You could bribe a CEO to adjust something, or like, hey, I'm going to use my authority.
Would that qualify as a bribe in that case? I'm not sure it would.
Like, for instance, you take a vote in a city about a particular, like...
But if you're talking about a council member, that's a public official.
No. You say multiple businesses, you connect with their CEOs, their higher up, like, upper board members.
But I'm
and
saying,
you say,
how would
all
that...
of you, based on my bribes, are going to go in and vote this particular way. That's a bribe. And yes, they obviously agreeing to it would be a problem, but you bribing them to do so would be a little bit of a...
I'm not sure that in a private capacity that would qualify as a crime, or at least I'm not sure it should. Because the only time I can think...
Most
bribes...
of these things shouldn't.
Bribes...
Welcome to our club!
In most... Oh, there's further down. Clearly I'm not supposed to be here yet because there's lasers preventing me from entering, but I didn't realize this place was so deep. I can go down here, though. Oh, not far, though. This looks dangerous. Okay, yeah, so I'm not supposed to be here yet. But there is a save point, so I know that now. Because the only people I can think of where bribes tend to matter is it's like, okay, public officials, politicians, police officers, people whose duty is to the community, and therefore being partial when someone pays you is reneging on that duty. Whereas I suppose a CEO, you could argue, does have an obligation to shareholders if it's a publicly traded company.
Right.
So you can make the argument that if he accepts a bribe that is not in the benefit of the shareholders, that's reneging his fiduciary responsibility. Sure. So, okay, sure.
Kidnapping.
Well, duh! But that's already a crime!
Counterfeiting, which again is already a crime.
Yeah, some of these I think just are already crimes.
Embezzlement. That I get.
Well, that's just theft. That's just
yeah,
corporate
that one
theft.
Is, yeah, that one is a moral issue. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're actually stealing. Like that's
Yeah, it's just,
taking
but
money
again,
off
it's
the
like,
top
why does
is-
it not? Why not just call it theft?
Right. Arson, which I'm like, okay, again,
Again, a crime.
separate. Robbery, again,
A crime.
Human trafficking, definitely
A crime, big crime, one of the worst crimes.
Fencing, that's another thing that drives me
I was, for the moment, I was thinking of the sport.
No.
No, well,
No.
the obvious to buy something that you know is stolen is obviously, I think, there's reason to.
It's similar to a straw sale to me. I'm like, if I decide that I'm going to buy something on somebody else's
No,
behalf,
because the problem is, if you're buying,
cares?
the fence knows the thing is stolen. He doesn't have plausible deniability.
sure,
Because
but
you
so
would
does
only
the-
be a fence if
so
the
does
guy,
straw man. I'm sorry. Like, I'll have a client that says, hey, I can't get this particular item, like a gun, but I want you to buy it, and you can get this item legally, and then you're going to sell it to me. There's no illegality in me selling to them. There's no illegality in me buying for myself. But because I'm buying for them on their behalf, it's illegal. That's absurd.
well, I don't. That I agree is
It's
thin, but I'm not sure that the other one. What was I forgot what the other one was already.
fencing.
No, because that in that case, you are knowingly buying something stolen, and that would be a crime in and of itself. To buy something that you know has been stolen, I think, is the crime
So
in
what
that
you
instance.
need to do in a proper fencing business is make sure that everyone that is fencing doesn't know they're fencing.
I mean, if you that actually is how you would do it. If you owned like a pawn shop, and you just had
That's what legally. That's
well, because
why
pawn shops used to be. That's why pawn shops have the reputation of being seedy, is because they used to not be very well regulated. Now they're much more strict about it, which is why they're not as. They're basically just thrift stores at this point.
which I find obnoxious because I grew up in the Portland, Seattle scene, or Portland, I'll just say it that way, in the Portland scene, and pawn shops were fantastic because you could go in and the pawn shop owners would be like super lax on, yeah, I'll give it to you for this because I got it for that. Like they did not care.
I've already forgotten how I did this last time. I mean, that would be the way to do, is to just. But then again,
Witness tampering, see that one I get. I'm like, okay.
now here's
you're
the
actually
point. How
messing-
could you orchestrate what you're describing as selling a stolen thing without the person knowing it's stolen?
You would have a
I mean,
collection
just
of
a
people
private-
that buy things.
Yeah, just a private sale at that point, a garage sale.
Well, yeah, but what I'm
Actually,
saying
that
is
would be hilarious.
The company would be essentially,
Especially because the house we currently live in was a former drug house. So it's like that would be exact. If you already had a house that you were using for other illicit purposes, just be like, every now and again we have garage sales, and all the stuff is nicked, and nobody knows. All the community members come around, just like, oh yeah, we're buying old china and things. He's got
great
silverware. He must have had some rich grandparents. I don't know. But it's just like, that would be hilarious.
involuntary fences. Witness tampering, that one makes sense to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, you
Well,
don't want to
again,
mess with the
fraud,
Yeah.
already
Although,
a crime.
see, there's a part of me that there's a gray area with witness tampering because here again, I go, does the government set up witnesses that are less than credible? Yes, I've seen it. Where it's like, okay, what? This person doesn't even have.
Well, the real question, I guess, is what is it, legally speaking?
Witness tampering is anytime you are trying to influence the outcome of a trial by talking to or interfering with a witness at all.
Well, there would need to be a more robust legal definition than that.
No. Witness tampering, here we go. I'm going to define it.
Is this not the way I
Witness
go?
tampering for RICO purposes, these are
Oh,
considered
okay, so it's separate for RICO
predicate
purposes.
offenses. A person charged with a RICO. Okay, now I know that. Witness. There we go. Witness tampering, human trafficking, credit. Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
What?
That's all racketeering again.
Here we go.
Why can't I actually get a definition? There we go. What is the meaning of witness tampering? The act of physically harming or using threats. Okay.
Okay, well, but
Intimidation.
again, that's,
Intimidation, harassment, or corrupt persuasion. I'm like, okay. Against a witness with the goal of influencing the outcome. Yeah.
that is a tough one, because if in a non-stoic society, how would you...
Well, and again, I see this on their side.
The trouble
So it's
is,
like,
in a society that doesn't have a stoic view of these things, that would require a level of moral integrity of everyone, which not everyone has. So essentially, these laws about extortion specifically is a law specifically designed to accommodate the morally weak-willed. Where it's like, a Stoic interpretation would be, no, I'm not going to accept your bribe, or worse, I'm not going to, allow you to threaten me because I care more about justice than I care about my own bodily safety. So therefore, I won't do it. It's my choice, and that's the Stoic principle. It's like, yes, that is actually your choice. No one can force you to do anything. You can only choose to do it because you don't want whatever they're threatening you with. But if you're willing to just say, no, I'll take the beating and you won't get what you want from me, that's still your choice. But the problem is too many people are too weak-willed to do that, and therefore society wouldn't function if you relied on them. So we have to have laws in place to protect society from the weak-willed, apparently.
So fraud, obviously, murder.
Again, a crime!
Murder for hire.
How is that worse? Not to be jaded, but like, I don't know if it's really that much worse to kill a guy because you were paid to rather than because you just didn't like him.
Obstructing justice. That one I'm like, sure.
That's another vague one, and it's not even a mob thing. You could obstruct justice yourself.
Here's obstructing justice.
Interfering with a police.
Obstructing justice is a broad term that refers to a variety of specific crimes. It is a legal act of preventing or influencing the outcome of a government proceeding. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, not very helpful.
It's basically the government telling us, stay in your lane. I'm like, well, okay, but we are. Sorry, we're citizens. We deserve to know.
This is my lane.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, this is my lane.
Dealing in an obscene manner is technically a racketeering issue.
Well, what would that mean?
I have no idea. I'm about to pull it
Obscene manner, I'm assuming, is that some form of prostitution?
Obscenity, criminal division.
Oh, is it
Federal
just pornography or something?
Makes it illegal to distribute, transport, sell, ship, mail, produce, or with the intent to distribute, sell, and engage in the business of, pornography.
Okay, well, that's about the only thing that would have made sense.
Let's see. Loan sharking, which I've already talked about, is dumb. And mail fraud.
Again, fraud. Just call it fraud.
Mail or wire fraud. Yeah, that's dumb.
So most of these are crimes. Generally, the only crimes involved here are things that were already crimes.
Or things that government want to control.
That we're just calling bigger crimes. Or things the government isn't involved in that it wants to be. So it's like, if you're not doing it per the government standard, it's wrong for you to do it. Because again, you could be an ethical loan shark who offers people steep but not unreasonable interest rates, and you don't break their legs if they can't pay. You just take their furniture. I want to see this now because it would be funny. It would be kind of humorous to have like a quasi-moralistic, mostly legal gang that like does things mostly above board, where it's like, no,
see, I promise
we're not going to break your legs. We are going to come and take the car next Tuesday. I promise
you, eventually there will be a line in which, like for instance, taking the car next Tuesday, it's like they're going to tell you that's theft.
No, you signed the deal.
But again,
you offered us collateral one.
Sharking. Now it's RICO. See, it's like, okay, because it's extortion.
But it wouldn't be though.
But do you see how quickly they can mudsling at you, even
That's
when
why
you're
you
not
need a
doing
good
anything
lawyer.
wrong? Well, sure. That's why we need Harvey Specter on our team. Better call Saul.
Well, no, that's literally what Saul is all about.
I know. That's why I was joking.
All right. Well, we'll start with the vending machines.
Start with the vending machines, and we need to get ourselves a lawyer friend. So
we have a lawyer friend. Surely we must have a lawyer friend by now.
I refuse to answer that.
Well, how would that be a problem? There's nothing incriminating about having a friend who's a lawyer. Sure. I might need this lawyer friend.
Right now?
Or is he a non-bar lawyer friend?
No, he's not bike.
Well, then what would be the issue with admitting you have a friend who's a lawyer? Unless he's not actually a lawyer.
Not all lawyers are as clean as they ought to be.
Well, okay, but that... So saying you know a lawyer is the same thing as... So you've already confessed to whatever you're trying to hide.
No.
By acknowledging that you know a lawyer. Anyway. What did they do to that? They knocked the slut out. That's roofing. Where's that on the crime list?
That would be under kidnapping.
Well, no, not necessarily. Not because the kidnapping would require taking the person. What if you just administered the drug?
That would be distribution of drugs, and that would still be...
But yeah, what actually is the... No, strictly speaking, if all you did was administer a drug to someone, what would be the crime? Because I'm sure it must be one. Is it a form of assault?
I'm not a distributor officer. I just...
Well, because distributing means selling, not just giving. That does raise a question, actually, because I'm sure it must be a crime, but I don't know what the crime would qualify as. Is it a form of assault? You could make the argument that it's a form of assault, I think.
Drug distribution is...
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about what would... Administering a drug against someone's will.
Making, or transferring of illegal drugs.
Yeah. So if you just administered a drug to someone... You darn you. This is not, I'd like to point out, an attempt to argue that it ought not be illegal. I'm just saying I don't know what, legally speaking, it would be. My guess is it would have to fall under some kind of assault. Because you're... I mean, it's not exactly an attack, but it is a detrimental physical action against them. I'm not sure what else would qualify. I don't know. I'm not advocating for any of this, by the way. It's just exploration. How could you be a moral pimp? Is that even possible?
Well, technically, in certain countries, yes.
Well, I mean, when it's not illegal, I suppose. But the question is it a moral activity?
Well, morality, yes. There's definitely not a gray at that point. It's black and white.
Well, is it when you're not... Again, devil's advocate here. I'm not advocating any of this literally. I'm just for the exploration of the legal purpose. If the woman has chosen to accept money for sex, and all you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to protect you from creepy, skeevy people, and you'll pay me a percentage, what is your moral burden? I'm not attempting to argue you don't have one. I'm just for the sake of philosophical understanding.
I don't know.
Because generally what makes pimp skeezy is that there's the force of like, I'm making you do this.
Right. And
whether you want to or not.
The prostitutes are typically hyped up on...
Because what if it was like, okay, she's going to do this anyways. She's going to need someone to protect her.
Oh, we need to see Night Shift.
Night Shift?
That's the whole point of Night Shift. That's that movie that I told you about. You're gonna play tennis with God. I showed you that one, right?
No.
That's the best movie. You gotta keep that tennis elbow straight, Chuck.
Okay.
Oh, we gotta watch this. We gotta break this down. Okay. So here's the word: prostitution. We got pro, that professional, right? Tit. Everybody knows what that is.
Okay, is this a silly movie or is it
very much a slap? Like it's like a I wouldn't call it slapstick. It's more like how would I describe it? What's another term? It's not slapstick.
Is it a farce?
What?
Is it farcical?
I mean, it's certainly it's basically about two guys that were businessmen that go into business together doing. Being pimps, essentially, like legal pimps, because what they do is they take these... This
is much easier when you know how to actually work the crane.
He's a businessman that basically says on a metric level, these prostitutes are making horrible money with these pimps that they're with right now, and they're also hooked on drugs. We'll get them clean, and then we'll actually give them a wage that they deserve, and then they'll work for us.
This is what happens in Saints Row 3. But my point is... Again, I'm not dabbling by any stretch. But if you're not coercing them into it, you're not roughing them up, and all you're doing is literally the thing you're claiming to do, which is I'm going to protect you from skeevies, then the question is, what is your participation in the immoral act? Especially if it's like...
Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler.
What? I can't... Michael Keaton. For some reason, I was thinking Michael Caine, and I couldn't picture it for the life of me.
No.
Okay. I could picture more.
It's great. It's an 82 film.
Because here's the thing. If they came to you and were like, hey, I want out, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Good for you. Does that make me less of a skis? I guess is the question.
If you have an hours program.
Where it's like, yeah, I've been taking some of your earnings and I've been putting them aside. You know, go get your GED. I know a guy. Oh, darn it. I'm just saying, it's a bit of the, if it's going to happen, they'll be safer with me.
Well, I mean,
is this the start of a very bad road of logic?
Not necessarily. It's a road of logic I have been down many times. I just am interested to know what provoked you to be down such a...
Well, because I played Saints Row 3.
So Saints Row 3 was your Peaky Blinders, apparently.
Well, no, because it was not by any means
take that back.
motivational.
I'll take
it's
that
mostly,
back.
it's essentially just because it's fun.
For me, even before Peaky Blinders, it was... He
was that weird guy in the bushes behind school.
No, it was The Road Perdition. That was a great film. In which it revealed...
Here's what Saints Row doesn't do, is it doesn't actually explain how you start one of these. All of these mob movies start you in the middle, at least. I'd like to, I mean, and that's the problem with Breaking Bad, is Breaking Bad doesn't go far enough. Because Breaking Bad, you'd think is like, oh, it's the show about how this random guy becomes a drug kingpin. And it's like, well, he never actually does become a drug kingpin, really. That was actually one of my critiques of the show, is that... Not exactly, because he stays on the he stays a supplier. He doesn't... There is a drug kingpin in the show who is the antagonist, but he isn't brought down until the very end, at which point the law is caught up with him and it's too late.
Well, okay, but then arguably on a...
Because that guy is the one who created the whole enterprise. He hires him to be just the manufacturer, and then they have beef and he tries to usurp him, and it takes all of the several seasons to do that. But even once he does it, it's like, okay, well, now he's on the run, and he's still just a supplier. He isn't the guy anyone answers to. He never actually takes over the running of the business. Because
there's another movie I want you guys, or I want us to watch together, which is one that is called... Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's like...
I now have to find out... I'm back to where I was, and I got to figure out where to stick the Zabi.
It's some dumb name like Old Dog's New Tricks or something like that, and it literally is like a street gang and like an old classic mob, and they get into a tiff, and basically it's like, oh, you about to learn some things today.
I've not seen the movie, but there was the clip going around of the film The Gentleman, which is sort of like that. I don't think it is either, based on your description, but there's the scene in that where it's these low-level like thug guys who try to rough this guy up, and he's just like, he's trying to be very conciliatory, being like, let's not do this. And they keep pushing, so eventually he literally pulls from out of his suit the silenced MP5. It's just like, son, we're not playing this game.
That's the one where he's like talks about like drop the phone or whatever. Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
but just
I do want to see that one though. No, this one, the one I'm talking about is
where do I use the code? Where am I sticking Zabi? It isn't the crane. I'm certain it's not the crane. But there is nowhere else for me to put this. Maybe now that I've got that code, I can go to the lab. But in order to do that, I would have to do something else. Skin them first. Quite strange. The only way I know how to get back there is the way I don't think I want to go. How do I get back to the entrance? I have to get back. Okay, can I do it here? Am I being stupid? Yes, I was being stupid. And this room still doesn't make any sense. There's nothing in here. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I'm gonna hope that the code I can enter is back in the lab. I don't want to fight these things if they are things to fight, and they are. Oh. Maybe not. Maybe they can be avoided. Okay, so how do we do this? We start with vending machines, because that's perfectly legal. Oh, I can save. Good idea. What comes after the vending machines?
I'm trying to look up that movie name still.
I see. Is this maybe where I enter the code? Okay, I didn't get this far last time. What are you? Alkaline? What? I'm fighting chemicals. That was easy. I'm noticing ladders more than I think I have been, so I think maybe part of the reason I've been missing stuff is because it's just I've not noticed the ladder details. Darn you! Strange chemicals. Smack him up. Everyone give him what for.
I don't think of the gentleman, although that's another example that I keep getting coming up, but it's not the one I'm thinking of.
Come on now, let me go.
I'll find it eventually.
All right, while you're doing that, what comes after vending machines?
Well, that gives you the ability.
Well, if you can become a bondsman.
Right, I was about to say. That gives you the ability to have the kind of
okay, so
cash to then
here's
say,
what's done.
People out of
that looks very obviously like a ladder thing because that's literally what I came out of from this. That texture on the floor looks almost identical to this texture on the floor. And yet, it isn't. Oh, you dumb thing. Get wrecked. So once you build up capital from the vending machines, you go into bail bondsmaning.
But the problem is, then that actually connects you with people. It depends on who you bail out. Like at that point, you could actually use a moral compass and say, okay, we only bail out people we deem worthy of being bailed out. Or you could say, we're going to bail out people that actually assist us in our enterprise. And at that point, you're now in a dicey territory.
Are you though? All you're getting is information.
I have actually, there's a great example in the John Wick series with the whole, the Bowery or whatever, where he's like, he's the
From which one? Oh,
leader.
I'm an idiot.
He's like the leader of all of the homeless populace or whatever. The Bowery.
What's his name? Morpheus.
Yeah, but I'm like that would actually make a decent beginning to a mob in that it would be like informants throughout.
Yeah, you say that,
cities.
but I actually, what's the logistics of it? Because I've thought about this. I had this thought. Yeah, you'd have to pay them before they were of any use to you.
Right, and it's like that.
And you'd have to pay a lot of them because, like in the Sherlock Holmes things, where it's like, oh yeah, I do homeless because there's homeless people everywhere, therefore they're seeing all sorts of things. It's like, okay, yeah, but if I got to pay each of them, how much?
Yeah.
And how do I guarantee that they're going to be where they need to be?
Well, you can't, but I mean,
because I mean, you could argue, and then how would you keep that under wraps? Because that's one thing about the Saints Row games. As much as they're fun, but they aren't what I would kind of wish they were, which is more of the actual like logistical questions. Because how would you handle that? Just be like, okay, just like this guy, we're gonna give him a certain amount of cash every week, and he's gonna keep an eye out for specific targets. And if he sees us, we'll give him a burner phone and he'll call us. And literally, that's all he has to do. It's like if they pass by you, just call and say this is where they are. And we'll give you, I don't know, you'd have to haggle for whatever you think that's worth.
Yeah.
We'll guarantee you a certain minimum payment every week.
But again, that would have to have the kind of lucrative cash flow that you would have that going on. So that's why you have your bondsmen and your
vending machines and what else? Because here's the thing that's escort services are not illegal because
I actually thought about
because
that.
here's the thing that the one issue with the idea of this being a crime is it's like, well, okay, is it the paying for the sex? Because literally the loophole for escort service is, well, you're just paying for the person to be there, and then you agree together for whatever you're going to do afterwards.
Well,
It's like, well, this just goes to show how you can't legalize these things because that's the easiest loophole in the world.
Well, this also,
It's like, I didn't pay him for the drugs, I just gave him some money, and in his thanks, he gave me drugs.
wow. But I'm saying,
Did I ever tell you the story of Dan the paper towel man? I think I've told you it before.
Runner fever dream because
No,
remember it's the Dan Talman.
No, it's a joke from a guy was saying it's an example of stupid bureaucracy like this where he's saying, I knew a guy, okay, I didn't realize this. I knew a guy at school who had a panini press, and so he would come at lunch and make people paninis and he'd charge them $1. And the school was like, technically speaking, he can't be selling food without some kind of a food license. So they said, you can't do that. So he's like, well, fine. So he became the paper towel man. And he would sell you a paper towel, and with every paper towel, you got a free panini.
That's the stupidest thing ever.
But that's the kind of thing where it's like, that just goes to show how you can't legalize this stuff very effectively.
No, what I was saying was I actually would.
I want to see someone use that legal defense.
I think it's.
I didn't sell him
to
drugs,
create,
sir.
To create a escort service that's genuinely you protect the girls to say no, they aren't going to actually give you any sort of like favor in that regard. It's purely like if I'm a businessman and I need to go to an event and I need a woman like on my side, then I go, hey, I'm going to hire this service. They're going to come with me.
I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough.
And then you go home.
Requirement for that, though.
Sure, there is.
I don't think there'd be enough to make it a worthwhile business.
Because
you could already,
not just purely business.
Because you could absolutely do that as like escorts. There are escorts that do that. Like there's stories of people. It's like, yeah, I've been hired for non-sexual stuff.
Right, that's my point.
But I'm saying I don't think that's usually the exception. I don't think you'd make enough money doing it with purely.
I'm saying if you built a business around it being the actual rule, not just the exception, to say you could.
I'm saying I don't think there's enough need for that to make the business profitable.
I feel like, well, then you create it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't create need for that.
You can, absolutely. Marketability is partially communicating that something is of value and that it's something that people know.
That's not need.
If you're a single guy,
as a marketer, you can
have a family reunion or something like that. Why not go? Hey,
yeah, but saying the point is you can't create need. You can only promote the product. But if people don't actually themselves want it enough, then you're not. All the salesmanship in the world isn't going to get them to pay for it if it isn't something they want.
But I'm saying,
and I'm saying I don't think there's enough situations in which that would be of use to people that it would justify the cost.
School reunions, graduations.
Yeah, but okay, but not every. But here's the thing: is those are already not the most common things. They happen frequently, but they're not. I don't know that they're enough to build a business around, especially when you consider that probably less than 1% of the people who attend those things are of the demographics where they'd be willing to do that. Like if I went to a school reunion, I don't have anything to prove that I would benefit from that kind of a fake thing.
I'm just saying there would be enough people in the business sector to me that go to enough events that it would be like, yeah, okay, I'll pay for that.
Yeah, but what business event would require that?
It wouldn't require it, but it would be helpful to have.
I don't know that it would.
A look of like, we will make sure that we. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure that there's enough market capitalization for this.
I've also thought about it on a juxtaposition level and like not like on a gigolo level, but in like a sense of like we are men that can come into a situation and do whatever you need, whether that be that we
it's just called it's just called a handyman.
Meaning for a night we show up and we're your personal bodyguards for that night, maybe for a night maybe we're showing up as your boyfriend or whatever. You know, it's like whatever niche you need us to fill for that day, we will do it.
Ah, here it is.
Pay us this amount of money.
That's where the password went, unless I entered it wrong. I may have entered it wrong. Enter password. X, A, B, Y. It's only letting me enter 2 letters at a time again. Oh, I was pressing it too early. Alright.
Save.
Well, I'd have to go all the way back up to the other level for that, but I might just be worth it. I think I've unlocked most of the security stuff, so I can just go back up to the top level. Although that'll respawn all the enemies, but it might just be worth it since I've unlocked everything up until now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit of... Are you deluding yourself to be like, well, if it's gonna happen, you know, I'm absolving myself of moral responsibility because it would happen whether I was doing it or not. It's like, okay, but that doesn't make you contributing to it not your decision. Then again, if you wanted to be like, well, hey, if they come and say, hey, I'd like to get out of this, you'd go, yeah, okay, go ahead. I'm happy for you. I didn't like you being in it. I was only here for the money, because that sounds worse. I don't know.
think you should be doing this either. That's why
I've been waiting for you to come to that conclusion yourself.
There would be nothing that would make me happier than
That
to go out of
actually-
business in this context.
That actually could make for a somewhat humorous movie.
That is Night Shift, dude.
Okay, but I'm not in a like I'm just here for the business savvy, but almost like a disgruntled dad's prostitution service being like, I'm glad you finally came to your senses. I've been waiting for you to get out of this the whole time. I don't know what I've done, but I've made something angry, I think. He's having a panic attack. Wanker emergency.
My systems have gone haywire. I need a slut. I mean,
Uh-oh. Oh no! Oh, she's been crushed. Well, I would if you'd let me go. Is he gonna die? He's gonna get himself crumpled into a cube. Oh. Nah, he's fine. Take it back to a hoe, she'll fix him up. Now here's the question is, once you got the vending machines, what would you use to, what would you distribute through them?
information. Espionage to me is one of those gray areas too. It's like, okay, like government secrets trading. I'm like, I would do that.
I don't know about the government part. Business secrets is a little
Yeah,
more...
100%. It's like you could do that and not have. I mean, technically it would be insider trading, which is also illegal. But I'm like, that no. If I send the people into the businesses and I say they're going to work here a month and they get some of the clues that they
Oh, of course the
need to have and then they leave, but technically they sign contracts as they are employees of those businesses that say that they won't do that. So it's like, well, that's technically still illegal, but whatever. It's breach of contract at the very least.
Okay, we got a whole lot of... Of course. Good gracious! Hey, it's more of his things. It's more wankers.
He's bowing to the wankers. He's wanking to the wankers. Look at, he's still doing it. Nope.
Oh, no.
They don't like him. You are defective. You have...
Pardon? Oh no, we're having an identity crisis. Oh no, poor guy.
Wanker's getting whipped.
Oh!
That's just terrible. Just standing here watching a wanker get whipped.
Poor guy. Oh, come back. I feel way worse for this guy than I do that frog.
The frog.
Are we gonna do anything about this, or we're just gonna keep watching it happen?
Apparently, they're pushing him into the incinerator. Bye, Wanker.
Well.
Wanker.
They may just, in fact. There's 6 of them, and we lost our most useful guy. Well, I don't think this is gonna work. Oh, I am getting massively whooped. Wow, okay. I should have used her to heal. I should have used her to heal me. Oh, you know what? I think I've just gotten myself mightily hosed. Because last time I ran out of the revive stuff and I don't think I've bought any since. So if she does not have any... Oh, she does. Good. Oh, but she's about to die too. Okay. Bad times for all of us. See, they just get too many turns. Because now he's not got... You're going to have to spend this turn just to give yourself some health. See, he's probably going to die before you can even give himself the health. Yep, there he goes. So, yeah, losing the wanker was a bad thing for us.
These are my friends. How wrong you are, Wanker. Well, there you go.
Well,
Crime.
I feel like we're not done. gotta lay out a business plan here.
On live so that everyone else can follow it.
It's the best cover.
Okay.
They'll never suspect we'll actually do all this. Step outside, the feds are there going,
There's a part of me that wonders with this house whether there is some sort of, especially up at the barn, where it's like, I bet you there's some drugs buried up there somewhere.
Well, I would doubt that, but there was...
Or money or something. Like, it's peculiar, some of the settling that's happening.
Well, you never know. I mean, we did come across clearly whatever they were cutting stuff with.
Well, yeah,
bunch of pool chemicals.
Pool chemical, yeah.
That's the other thing. I mean, I guess that's just business we were going, well, if we can sell less of the stuff and just put other crap in it. But again, we go back to the Heisenberg thing where it's just like, well, no, we're going to sell the purest stuff. So the people who want the good stuff come to us. I don't know. So vending machines is we got to start there. Vending machines, get a bond license.
The
After
other
that,
thing you have to do with the bond license, though, is run the people down that don't pay their bonds. And that's actually technically
well, you
legal.
run them down, or you,
Well, that's it.
or would you just turn them over to a collection agency?
No, it's bounty hunting. That's a part of bail bonds.
No,
It
because
is.
that's
Yes,
not.
it
That
is.
would therefore be a part of any loan service.
It's
You would just
not.
turn them over to a collection service.
No, but I'm saying bounty hunting specifically works.
Well, no, bounty hunters also work for police. Like, bounty hunters will go get people who miss their court dates.
But generally, it's because they've worked with a particular loan or
Oh, hey, that's that
A
sequence.
private agent who works for a bail bonds company. Yeah, see.
No,
To find and capture criminals and fugitives who have missed court dates or otherwise failed to uphold their bail agreements.
I could have sworn it was broader than they worked exclusively for bail bonds.
No,
I thought they
that's what
worked
they
for.
are.
I thought they were essentially like independent.
No, bounty hunters are literally also known as bail enforcement agents or recovery agents.
That I could have
They're
sworn
paid
that it had
commissions
more to do on.
They're paid commissions on their total bail amounts owed by the fugitive.
I thought you could also do bounty hunting for the police.
No,
Because I thought that's what Well, okay then.
but
That's
so
weird.
Really, what we just need to be is bounty hunters.
I actually looked into that. It's far more
It's
involved.
extensive. You have to have law enforcement experience. Yeah, I know.
I thought I was kind of disappointed about it. There's a guy on YouTube was like, because there's a guy on YouTube who does any job. And so there is one of the guys is like, yeah, I'm a professional bounty hunter. He's like, I own bulletproof vests. I have guns. It's like, I'm not really supposed to use them because I don't think, it's like, I don't really have justification just to be like, I'm just going to open fire on this guy. But it's like, I do have stuff to protect myself. Where it's like, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going after some random chick who just skipped her court hearing. I think in one of the episodes, he's like, yeah, he just walked into some hair salon while she was there. Just being like, you missed your court date, you're coming with me. But then another time he's like, no, this guy's actually a hard baller, and I'm gonna wear my vest because things could turn ugly.
Well, I used to watch Dog, the bounty hunter, and he was fascinating because his argument was, we use paintball guns, and he goes, and what we do is most of the time you're connecting with them if they are strung out anyway. You're connecting with them in a state where they're really not going to be very like aware or salient, and so you just go, dude, what's going on? Like, why are you in this low point in your life? Like, what? And he basically like counsels them as he gets them into his car and goes, we're gonna drive back to the jail because you got to go and get yourself clean. Like, what is this? And then some of them actually like full on have these like moments of not crisis, but moments where they talk to him, and they're like, I just want to get out of this for my kid. And he's like, do it for your kid, dude. Like, you gotta actually get it done. Don't.
So what we're describing, okay, but see now we've established something here. You start with vending machines, you get into bail bondsmen, and then therefore bounty hunting, which now gives you an in into the sort of reforming thing. Then you move into the prostitution side of things and reform them. Say, yeah, if you want to get out, get out. I won't keep you here. So now what we're talking about is it's a social good.
Well, yeah. Arguably, that's what biker gangs are.
There's definitely biker gangs that are involved in the other side of the crimes.
Sure, but I'm saying
not all biker gangs are positive.
No, but that is a more attributed to biker gangs in that they tend to be far more...
I don't know what you're referring to there, because there's only the one gang I know of that do cool stuff.
Which is which?
The ones that there's a set of biker gang, or a biker gang, that is exclusively dedicated to defending children from abusive... not strictly parents, but like children who have been abused.
No,
so it's like they show up to court dates to be like, they'll have the entire courtroom full of bikers to be like, if this dude tries anything, we're all going to be here. And it helps the kids feel more like secure. It's like, that's rather wholesome.
There's another biker gang that deals with child trafficking too. Like they go in and protect and salvage those situations where they know that it's a little bit like not bounty hunting.
Just a vigilante gang at this point.
Right, essentially, yeah.
Well, but it's like, that's obviously for every one of those, there's probably a Hell's Angels though. So.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So okay, we've got a strategy outline now. We're a philanthropist organized.
Philanthropist cooperative.
There you go. That's LLC. No, this is genuinely fascinating now. I'm curious about all this. If we can make money by being of social use, I think that's a perfectly respectable thing to do. Now, the trouble is you'd end up getting into trouble with non-philanthropists. If you start attracting the ladies, some of the other pimps are going to have issues with you.
Oh, 100%. And then again, that's where the violence happens, where it's like, well, I'm going to protect myself, and then you end up killing a pimp, and now it's like, okay, now you are racketeering because you just murdered a guy.
Well, not if you do it. If you seek him out, yes. But, I mean, if he comes at you, it's like, okay, I defended myself and I cleaned up the world. I'm just saying. Because there would be no rule against having, you'd also at some point in this process have to have your own security. Because you'd need that for both the bail bondsman and the pimping. So then you just have some of those guys follow you around. And then... if someone comes at you, you should be like, okay, I'm not going to tell my guys not to defend me. That's what they're paid for.
Funny thing is, if it seriously only takes 8 hours, I actually have a guy already that I know that is a bounty hunter that's a really good dude, and I know him quite well. So I'd be like, hey, That's funny. I never thought about that before. Forgot about the frog.
Then we gotta get how do you get the payday loans in there? Help people out of low income things.
Well, then that's when you get into the house situation where it's like, yeah, now we're flipping houses and giving
There
it.
you go.
You got to do the Habitats for Humanity. You're still putting low income families in them, but you're making a sweet profit off the back end.
Okay, so we got a game plan here. First we got to pay off the student loans, free up some capital. Then we'll start with the vending machines. That's our target goal. Pay off some loans, get some capital moving, but get vending machines, get some more capital going. Once you got some capital from that, you go into the bail bonding. That's an interesting thought, though, because then surely there could be some overlap between your bounty hunter guys and just having a regular security service, so that
Right, of course.
those two would arise kind of mutually.
And then you
Could start getting into the. Is there a better term than
security.
pimping?
No,
Because I don't think the morality of this falls apart when you use the word pimping. Bail bonding, it's like, okay, this is a form of loan. Bounty hunting is apparently attached to that form of loan. Security is a perfectly legitimate business.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
being like,
So you send them into the low income or areas and like, hey, we're gonna be your protection in here because there's some local street gangs that aren't very good. Okay, great. We'll pay you $10 a month, and I mean it's like
$10 a month. I'm not working for that.
no, but I'm saying like think about that. If you have an entire neighborhood paying you like Netflix, it would start to get quite lucrative.
I'm not sure.
And then you
$10.
just walk, and then it would be like basically like a neighborhood watch, except a little more extreme, because if they struck, it would be like, oh no, we're not just taking you, we're taking you downtown. I'm a bounty hunter, pal. I know the cops.
And as a matter of fact, I recognize you.
And you have a bailout right now.
Your court date's next Tuesday. Are you ready? You'll see me then.
See, that's what I'm saying, because then you're using the legal system to extort people, and then it's not illegal. Because how can it be illegal if you're doing exactly within the parameters of what the law already says that is allowed? If you're using a bounty hunter to say, hey, stop messing with these people, otherwise I'm going to take you downtown because you're already late for your court date anyway.
I'll give you a head start if you leave now. Okay, well, that's the end of this, I guess. We got things to be doing. We'll see you when all this is set up. Well, okay then.